I want to tell you about a conversation I had with two people in the same week. Both were in their late 30s. Both had good jobs. Both earned roughly the same income, somewhere around $85,000 a year. The first person, I'll call him Marcus, spent most of that conversation talking about money. His rent, his car payment, his credit card balance, the raise he was hoping for, the vacation he'd had to cancel. Money was everywhere in that conversation. It was the background noise of his entire life. The second person, I'll call her Elena, barely mentioned money at all. We talked about a project she was working on, a trip she'd taken, a decision she was thinking through. At some point, I asked her directly, "Do you think about money much?" She thought for a moment and said, "Not really. I sorted that out a while ago." Marcus had about $12,000 saved. Elena had about $280,000 invested. That difference, not in income, but in net worth, was the entire explanation for why their lives felt so different. And here's what nobody tells you about net worth. It's not just a number, it's a feeling. It's the amount of mental space money takes up in your brain. It's how many of your decisions are made from fear versus from choice. There are three distinct levels where something genuinely shifts. Not in your bank statement, in your psychology, in your daily experience, in how you move through the world. And the most important thing I can tell you is this: most Americans never make it past level 1. Not because they don't earn enough, because nobody ever explained what the levels actually feel like from the inside. That's what this video is about.
Level 1 is where most people live their entire adult lives. Net worth between $0 and $50,000. For many Americans, that number is negative. Student loans, car debt, credit cards pulling them below 0 before they even start. Here's what level 1 actually feels like from the inside. Every unexpected expense is a crisis, not an inconvenience, a crisis. The car repair that wipes out the checking account, the medical bill that goes on a credit card because there's no other option, the month where the numbers just don't add up. Something has to give. At level 1, money is not a tool. Money is a threat. It operates in the background of every decision, every conversation, every night before sleep. You don't think about money because you want to. You think about money because you have to. The Federal Reserve's research shows that 37% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing. The average American household carries $6,000 in credit card debt at an average interest rate of 22%. Nearly 40% of Americans have zero retirement savings. These aren't failures of character. They're consequences of living in level 1 without a map out. Here's the psychology that keeps people stuck in level 1. When money is scarce, your brain shifts into short-term mode. This is well documented in behavioral economics. Researchers Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir spent years studying the psychology of scarcity. Their conclusion? Scarcity doesn't just affect what you can afford, it affects how you think. When you're worried about money, your cognitive bandwidth narrows. You make worse decisions, not because you're less intelligent, but because your brain is occupied. The mental load of managing scarcity leaves less room for everything else. This is why escaping level 1 is harder than it looks from the outside. It's not just about saving more money, it's about breaking a psychological loop that the level itself creates. Now, here's what makes level 1 particularly dangerous in America specifically. American consumer culture is designed to keep you here. Buy now, pay later. 0 down, 0% interest for 12 months. Upgrade now, worry about it later. Every financial product marketed to people in level 1 makes level 1 worse. Payday loans, rent-to-own furniture, subprime car financing. The system profits from you staying exactly where you are. Compare this to how people in level 1 are treated in countries like Germany, Norway, or the Netherlands. In Swabia, the region we talked about in our last video, the cultural expectation is that you do not spend money you don't have. Full stop. Not as a financial strategy, as a matter of basic dignity. A young Swabian starting out doesn't take on consumer debt to maintain a lifestyle. They live modestly, save aggressively, and treat level 1 as a temporary condition to be moved through, not a permanent address. The difference isn't income. It's the story the culture tells about what money is for. How do you get out of level 1? The research is actually clear on this. The single most effective thing you can do is build a buffer, a financial cushion between you and the next crisis. It doesn't have to be large. Studies from the Financial Health Network show that people with as little as $500 in liquid savings make measurably better financial decisions than people with nothing. The buffer changes your psychology before it changes your balance sheet. Practical step for level 1. Before anything else, before investing, before extra debt payments, before anything, open a separate account and name it your buffer. Transfer something into it this week, even $50. Not because $50 will save you, because the act of building the buffer changes how you relate to money. You are no longer spending everything that comes in. You are someone who saves. That identity shift is the beginning of level 2.
Level 2, $50,000 to $250,000 net worth, the transition zone. Level 2 is where life starts to feel different for the first time. Net worth between $50,000 and $250,000. This is the zone where emergencies stop being catastrophes, where you start making decisions from a slightly less desperate place. But level 2 has its own trap, and it's more subtle than level 1. In level 1, the enemy is obvious. You don't have enough. In level 2, the enemy is invisible. You have enough, but the habits of scarcity are still running your brain. This is what I call the scarcity hangover. You've built some wealth. Maybe $80,000, $120,000, $180,000, but you still check your bank account every morning with a slight anxiety. You still feel guilty about buying things you can actually afford. You still secretly worry that it could all disappear. Marcus, the person from the beginning of this video, is in level 1, but I've met plenty of people in level 2 who feel almost exactly the same way because the number changed, but the psychology didn't.
Here's what level 2 looks like by the numbers. Someone with $100,000 net worth invested at a modest 7% average annual return will have $200,000 in about 10 years without adding a single dollar. At $200,000 invested, compound interest starts generating roughly $14,000 per year on its own. That's the beginning of money working for you instead of you working for money. But level 2 also comes with a new set of temptations. This is where lifestyle inflation lives. You got the raise. You can afford the nicer apartment now. You've been driving that car for 6 years. You deserve an upgrade. Your friends are going on nicer vacations. You can actually afford to join them. Every one of these decisions is reasonable in isolation. Together, they keep you in level 2 forever. There's a concept in behavioral economics called hedonic adaptation. It means you buy the nicer thing, feel good for a few weeks, and then that becomes the new normal. The nicer apartment just becomes your apartment. The upgraded car is just your car. The happiness boost disappears, but the higher monthly payment stays.
Now, compare this to the Swabian approach to level 2. In Swabian culture, reaching level 2 is not celebrated by spending more. It's celebrated quietly, if at all. The Swabian word Bescheidenheit, modesty, humility, applies here. The wealthiest families in Swabian towns often look exactly like the least wealthy families. Same modest cars, same careful spending, same Saturday market, but their net worth is quietly compounding in the background. Every year that they don't inflate their lifestyle is another year of compound growth. Here's the critical insight about level 2. The distance between $50,000 and $250,000 is not just $200,000. It's the distance between money controlling your life and you controlling your money. But you only cross that distance if you keep your lifestyle roughly where it is while your wealth grows. The people who get stuck in level 2 forever are the ones who upgrade their life every time they upgrade their net worth. The people who get to level 3 are the ones who don't. Practical step for level 2. For every income increase you receive, raise, bonus, side income, put 80% of it toward wealth building and let yourself spend 20% on lifestyle improvement. Not 50-50, not 100% lifestyle, 80-20. This ratio keeps you moving forward while still giving you permission to enjoy progress. It's not about deprivation, it's about not letting your lifestyle grow faster than your wealth.
Level 3 is where something genuinely, fundamentally changes. Net worth above $250,000. For most people, this is somewhere in the range where compound interest starts doing serious work. But the change isn't financial. The change
is psychological. Here's what level 3 actually feels like. You stop making financial decisions from fear. You start making them from preference. The car breaks down. It's expensive. You fix it and move on. There's a medical bill. You pay it. You don't put it on a credit card. You want to take a different job. One that pays less, but matters more to you. You actually consider it because you can. Options. That's what level 3 gives you. Not luxury, not status, not the things people think wealth looks like. Options.
Elena, the woman from the beginning of this video, with $280,000 invested, described it this way. She said, "I don't think about money because I don't have to. It's doing its thing, I'm doing my thing." At $250,000 invested, assuming a 7% average annual return, your investments are generating roughly $17,500 per year. At $500,000, that's $35,000 per year. At $1 million, a number that sounds impossible to many people, but is reachable with consistent investing over time, that's $70,000 per year. That's the point where wealth becomes self-sustaining, where it no longer depends entirely on your labor. But here's what surprises most people about level 3. The lifestyle doesn't look that different from the outside. The research on this is fascinating. A study by Thomas Stanley, author of The Millionaire Next Door, found that the majority of American millionaires drive ordinary cars, live in modest homes, and spend far less than their net worth would suggest. The people who look wealthy are often not. The people who are wealthy often don't look it.
This is the Swabian model applied at scale. Bescheidenheit, visible modesty, isn't just a cultural habit in wealthy German communities. It's a wealth strategy. When you stop spending to signal status, all of that money goes back into building wealth. When you stop trying to look rich, you actually get richer. Level 3 also changes your relationship with work. At level 1, you work because you have to. At level 2, you work because you mostly have to, with occasional choices. At level 3, you work because you choose to. That shift from obligation to choice is the most significant quality of life change that money actually produces. Not the nicer car, not the bigger house. The ability to say no. The ability to say yes to something different. The ability to take a risk because the downside isn't catastrophic. This is what financial freedom actually means. Not private jets, just options. Practical step for level 3, or for anyone building toward it. Once a year, calculate your financial freedom number. That's the amount invested that would generate enough passive income to cover your basic expenses. For most people, using the 4% rule, it's roughly 25 times your annual expenses. If you spend $40,000 per year, your number is $1 million. If you spend $25,000, your number is $625,000. Write that number down. Track it every year. Knowing your number changes how you see every financial decision. Every dollar saved isn't just a dollar saved. It's a fraction of the distance between where you are and where you want to be. Let me come back to Marcus and Elena. Same age, same income, completely different experience of daily life. The difference wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was the moment, years earlier, when one of them decided to treat wealth building as non-negotiable, and the other kept telling themselves they'd start when things settled down. Things never settle down. That's the trap. The 3 levels I described today aren't destinations, they're transitions, and the only thing that moves you through them is consistent, patient, deliberate accumulation. Not a windfall, not a hot stock, just the same boring decision made again and again over years. Level 1, build the buffer. Change your psychology before you change your balance sheet. Level 2, refuse to inflate your lifestyle as fast as your income grows. Level 3, invest in your number. Make it specific, make it visible, make it real. The version of wealth nobody talks about isn't flashy. It doesn't have a red carpet moment. It's just one day realizing that money stopped being the background noise of your life. And that's worth more than anything money can actually buy.